everyone, welcome to the marathon seminar. And today's topic is the comparison between sponsor visa and skill visa with same Namo. Yeah, so Namo gonna give us a lot of visa information.
So I can just
how to apply both type of visa. So let's start, Namo.
Yes. Hello everyone. This is Namo from Seoul Edu and Migration. So far we touched many different topics, but today I'm going to explain about specific visas, especially for the skilled visa sector and employer sponsor visa sector. So it's like a bit confused some part, but today I really want you to understand about the specific visa requirement, and then at least you understand how each visa is different. So let's start. So today I will basically talk about the two different visa options. It's a skilled visa option and employer sponsor visa option. So in the skilled visa option, there are different type of the visa subclass, and then under the employer sponsored visa, there are different type of visa subclass as well. So maybe I can touch at least 6 different visas today, but again, so each visa will give you some confusion, but please do not worry about it. But I will explain one by one very slowly, and at the end, you still have any doubt and then confusion, please contact us, then we can provide the answer for you.
Yes, or type on the inbox and give us some questions so we can answer you here.
Yep. So as you can see in my PPT, there are two different type of the visa options, but it doesn't mean you can only apply those visa options. So for example, if you have any Australian partner, then you can apply for the partner visa, and then you can also apply for the investment visa. So there are many different ways to getting the PR, but as an international student, the commonly, then maybe you will have those two big part of the visa. So the first visa group I call the skilled visa options. Then the second visa group that I called employer sponsored visa options. So I want you to remember about at least the visa subclass. You don't need to remember about the exact visa name, but if you understand visa subclass, it might be help you to simply understand and then avoid the confusion based on each visa sectors. So under the skilled visa group, there are 3 different visa subclasses that you can apply for. So 189, 190 is the permanent visa options, but 491 is a temporary visa options. Under the employer sponsor visa group, you have a 482, 186, 494, and 482 and 494 is a temporary visa, but 186 is the permanent visa options. But again, even though 491, 494, 482 is the temporary visa, but you can still meet a certain requirement during your holding these visas, then you can still move on to the permanent visa option as well. Yeah, let's talk about the skilled visa option first. So before I touch each individual visa, I can explain you about the common requirements for the skilled visa area, and then you must understand and then clearly know about those common requirements. So as you are preparing the skilled visa options, so you must understand this skilled visa is operating based on the point system. So you must achieve at least 65 migration points, then you can eligible to start the EOI and then get invitation. But this 65 point is the minimum point. It doesn't mean you can get an invitation with the 65 points. So this is a minimum requirement. You can start the process. So 65 point is always not enough to get the invitation, but in certain state, in certain situation, 65 can be enough as well.
Can you tell us a little bit, how do we get the points, where it comes from?
I will touch about the point later on, or maybe in different topic next time, but the point is always comes from the age, experience, and your qualification study, and also some specific skills about the NATI and then professional and some regional study, yeah, something like that. So because of this point is very important, that's why you better to prepare your study with the exact plan.
Yes.
Then you can have a higher point than your competitor, I mean your other like friends. So it's very important to understand about the how that you can make a point and what is the part of the your point.
Yes.
Also, the age that all the skilled visa require you to have at least 44 means if you turn into the 45, you will lose the chance to apply the visa.
Right.
So now your age is not important. You should draw your plan, and then at the time of the invitation, you shouldn't be a 45. But most of our clients is still have a long time to prepare those visa, and then age is still okay. And then the skill assessment, we already talked a lot about this skill assessment. We talked about TRA, we talked about the engineers of Australia, we talked about the draft person from the previous, the marathon seminar. But like this, all other occupations have a different requirement and different authority to assess your skill and experience. So without the positive outcome of the skill assessment, you cannot apply and your visa cannot be granted. So this skill assessment is very critical. You have to make sure when you plan your skilled visa application, you must check whether I can have the more than 65 points and my age can be less than 45, and then I can have the positive skill assessment outcome. Then roughly you are ready to go through the skilled visa. So 189 basically requires these three things, and then maybe further, but you can definitely prepare. But 190 and 491, I will touch those visas very detailedly in the later stage. But 190 and 491 is operating based on point stamp as well as state nomination. Without state nomination, you cannot apply for the subclass 190 and subclass 491 visa. So that's why you must have the state nomination approval, then you can get a visa invitation for the 19 and 491. So you must understand each state nomination requirement as well if you want to prepare certain state nomination visas. So like this is skilled visa option. There are three different types of the skilled visa basically, but skilled visa has a very important factor of the three. That one is point system, one is age, one is skill assessment. But for the 190 and 491, it is operating based on the state nomination. So you must be aware of the state nomination requirement as well. So let's talk more about the skilled independent visa, 189 visa. So I already mentioned 190 and 491 is operating based on the state nomination, but 189, they are operating only based on the point system. It's based on the higher point. But these days, we cannot advise students that 189 can be a possible option for your permanent visa, because 189 is only based on the point. So if you have a higher point, you have a chance. But unfortunately, at the moment, the competition is getting stronger, but the allocated quota is getting decreased, which means the competition is stronger and stronger. Then your invitation point is getting higher and higher. So maybe we can see the point in here. So in maybe the 2018 and 2019, each month they invite more than 4,000 sometimes. And then maybe 3,000, something like that. But currently, it's they don't invite at all. They invite very few, less than 1,000. So that's why you may not hear from your friends and classmates that they get the invitation for the 189 visa. And we cannot advise you 189 via your primary visa go for the permanent visa.
Yes.
Because this statistics clearly show that invitation point is very high because they don't invite much invitation.
Yes, yes. So the point has to be the highest that they pick first,
Yeah.
and then lesser point got picked later, and
Yeah.
maybe not get picked at all. Am I right?
Not get at all.
Yeah. And even though 65 point is the requirement, but in reality, it's impossible.
I've never get an invitation with the 65 over the last 3 years, but even the less than 80 point is very hard. At the moment, I have many cases waiting the invitation with 95 people.
Wow. Okay. That's
also, I cannot say that it depends on the occupation as well. So all the occupations in the MLTSS and medium and long-term occupation list, they all get the invitation at least with the 95 point at the moment. Okay, let's go back to the 189. So 189 again is entirely based on the point system. If you have a higher point than others, you get the invitation, but how much higher? Very important.
Yeah.
And then this 189 visa is only for the option that you have a positive skill assessment and then nominated occupation under the medium and long-term strategic skills list. We call the MLTSSL.
Right.
So it's very important. If your occupation is under the short-term or other like regional occupation list, then you are not eligible to apply the 189 skilled independent visa.
Okay.
And again, it is based on the point test. You must aware that current invitation point is really hard. So if you only target to this 189 visa, you may not get an invitation at all, even 2 or 3 years later, because it's very obvious current immigration trend that shows they will reduce the 189 the invitation quota, and then will allocate more invitation for the regional visas. So 189 skilled independent visa, they have a 2 separate like a stage. So once you have all the met the requirement from the Department of Home Affairs, so which is I mentioned the age, skill assessment, and point, then you can start 189 EOI. EOI is like express of interest that you register your details on the immigration website, which called the skill select website.
Right. Okay.
So you express your interest. Oh, I want to apply the 189, and my age is this, and my English point is this, and then I have complete study in Australia. I have this much experience in my nominated occupation, something like that. You have to register all your details onto the immigration database, and then department will pick the EOI and giving the invitation.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
But again, issuing the invitation is currently very slow and very limited, so you should expect more than 95 points to get the invitation. Or even you have a higher point, then still I'm doubt to get the invitation. Well, let's see the July. Mostly quota is always renew every July. So new financial year, new quota introduced. So let's see for the coming 2021 and 2022 quota.
Yeah. So if you want any update on the quota that release, please contact us, and then we can give you some information.
That's right. Well, we're gonna have this kind of seminar again for you.
Sure.
So once you get the visa invitation, finally you can apply for the visa, and then you will have the bridging visa too until waiting your visa decision. So which means if your temporary visa, like a graduation visa or other temporary visa is getting expired, but you haven't received the invitation to apply visa, means you should organize another visa to wait the invitation.
Right, okay.
The EOI is not a visa, so you never get a bridging visa based on the EOI.
Okay. So once you launch the EOI and your visa expire, you have to apply for some kind of visa
Another
to stay
visa?
and wait.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then this skilled visa, because of this EOI system, if you cannot apply visa directly, which means you must get an invitation to apply visa. Then there is a link to apply the visa. Then finally you can apply visa.
Right.
Okay. All right. So this is everything about the 189. And then maybe let's talk more about the state nominated related visa. So 190 visa and 491 visa is basically related with the state nomination. But you should be aware that each state has a different requirement for the state nomination.
Yes.
So for example, Queensland state nomination has a different requirement because the state nomination is based on their state demand.
Right.
So the occupation is different. And then requirement is different. Let's say, for example, it's not true, but make it simple and understandable. So Queensland has a more focus for the agriculture, for example, or Northern Territory, more agriculture. Then they allow more occupation related to the agriculture.
Okay.
Business or something like
So
that.
Queensland will issue the list of occupation
Yeah,
that they need.
yeah, that's right. So you can find eligible occupation under the each state nomination website.
Okay.
So in Queensland, for example, the BSNQ, Business and Skilled Migration Queensland, the one of the government authority in charge of a state nomination. They always update the occupation list. They always update about the requirement as well.
Yep.
But again, in this point, you must understand that each state have a different requirement, a different occupation list. But back in 2 years ago, New South Wales doesn't have a very strict requirement for the applicants from the other state. So we basically support our client in Queensland for the Queensland state nomination at the same time New South Wales state nomination.
Okay. So
But-
even though you live in Queensland, you
Yeah.
can focus on other states. as
Yeah,
well.
but like back in 2 years ago. But at the moment, since last year, that each state allowing or giving the chance for the applicants who are currently reside in that state,
Right.
their
So
state.
it's more strict.
Very strict, very strict. So currently, as far as I know, it's very hard. You can apply for the two state nomination at the same time. It's very hard. It's very hard.
Yes.
So this skilled nominated visa means state nomination visa has 3 different steps. Like 189 skilled independent visa, there are simple 2 steps. EOI, pick the EOI and get an invitation to apply visa. But in these 2 visas, 190 and 491, it is based on the state nomination. So that's why once we done all the requirements, so you must check the DHA requirement. Again, at the very beginning, what I said, for all the skilled visa group, they must meet common requirement, which is age,
Yes.
point,
Yep.
skill assessment. So you must meet those requirements, and then as well as state nomination requirement, then it's a time to start on the EOI.
For that state.
Yeah, and once you register EOI on the skill selected webpage, then next one is you can start on the state nomination.
Right. Okay.
Some state, they will see your EOI and then they will pick and then ask you to apply state nomination. But some states, they don't pick. You must apply first and they will consider. So each state have a different way to process for state nomination. So you should get the exact information from a professional or from the state nomination website.
Okay.
Anyway, if your state nomination application is approved, means you will finally get a visa invitation, then you will get the link to apply the visa.
Right.
So the same as 189, you will not get any bridging visa until you get the visa invitation.
Okay.
It's
Yes.
very important.
And do they have to still compete with the point with this visa?
Oh, a very important point. Like some state obviously prefer the higher point. So some, let's say New South Wales is very clear. They already open their selection criteria. Under their selection criteria, we clearly understand that users will pick the EOI with higher point.
Right. Okay.
But in Queensland, just provide the minimum point, which is 80.
Yes.
I mean, the deadline point for the 80.
Yes.
That if applicant's point is over the 18, they will consider. But I am not sure very exact the selection criteria because they did not open. But I believe, so that's why even the 95 point, they haven't got an invitation yet, but 80 point, they get an invitation, which cannot happen in New South Wales.
Okay. Okay.
And then, so if you get a visa invitation, the 189 is very simple. Yes, you get the permanent visa straight away. But under the state nomination requirement and then state nomination policy, that you must continue to live in that state which you get a state nomination.
After you get one.
That's right. Yeah. So once you get a state nomination from the Queensland and apply for the 190 based on the Queensland state nomination approval, then after you get a 190 visa grant, you must reside in the Queensland at least 2 years.
2 years.
At least
Okay.
2 years. So 491 visa, which is my favorite visa, and you must target this visa option.
Okay.
But again, that immigration has their own trend for the visa. And as far as I know and I believe, currently, Department of Home Affairs allocate more priority, allocate more visa quota for the regional related visa.
Okay.
But 189, 190 is not a regional related visa. But 491 is skilled work regional visa.
Yes.
Yeah, this visa is not a permanent visa, but this visa has a lot of benefits.
Okay.
So let's say, even though you are not in permanent visa, but you still entitled to get the Medicare benefit.
Yes.
While you are holding this visa.
Right. That's good.
And then this visa is operating based on the state nomination. So your nominated occupation doesn't necessarily under the MLTSA, STSOA, ROM.
Okay.
But you should check with your state occupation list.
Yes, on their website to see their list.
That's right. And then this visa again is related with the regional area. So you should meet the certain regional area requirement. For example, in Queensland, you must live and working in regional Queensland at least 3 months, then you can apply for the state nomination.
Okay. Yes.
So once you get this visa grant, again, this is a temporary visa. So you will get a 5 years visa. So if during the 5 years visa, if you meet certain regional requirement for 3 years, then you can apply for the 191 permanent visa. So when you apply for the 191 permanent visa, I believe the department will not check your English, your experience, I mean, your English or your like age, something like that. So as far as you are holding the 491 and then meet the certain requirement, which I explain soon, then you can apply for the 191 visa.
Right, to get PR.
Yeah, that's right. So for the regional requirement, once you get a 491 visa, you must meet living, working, study if you study in only regional area.
All right. Okay.
So you are required to live and work at least 3 years in regional area, then you can move on to the 191 permanent visa.
Okay.
But when you're working, it's not just necessarily you work for the 3 years, but you required to make a certain salary, I mean income during the over the 3 years. So at the moment, the income requirement is applied always comes with TASMIT requirement, which is $53,900. So it's about the 54K almost.
Okay. So you have to live in the regional area and work in
Regional
regional
area,
and earn income 53,900.
taxable income is 53,900
Right.
Australian
Okay.
dollar.
Yes. Which is impossible.
Oh, but I don't know how long you have been living in Australia, but I also start from the working holiday and student visa and then getting a permanent visa and citizen for 15 years. But from my experience, this requirement is not that much strict. And the department not asking you to make this income with only one employment.
Oh, so
If you feel like your current employment is short of this amount, you can have another part-time job during the weekend.
Does it have to relate to the occupation?
No. They don't have any specific occupation requirement.
Oh, that's cool.
Just they have a requirement for the income, which is 53,900 Australian dollar.
Good.
So maybe you will have a lot of questions about those matter. So we can
Yes.
talk about the Q&A session about
Yes.
this. So again, I want to emphasize. So once you get a 491 visa, you can move on to the 191 permanent visa.
Yes.
But you should think about the two basic requirements. The one, you must work in regional area and then produce the taxable income at least 53,900 Australian dollars. And when you're living, you must living in regional area for 3 years. So many people ask, so can I make a holiday to the Sydney and stay there for 2 weeks? Yes, you can do, but in opposite way, the majority of your time you spend in Sydney or Brisbane and Melbourne, which is a non-regional area, but regularly come to the regional area, it doesn't mean that you are living in regional area. So department will see how often you travel and how long you stay in other non-regional area. So, but again, for the traveling and visiting family and friends for temporary, then definitely okay. Then you still meet the living requirement.
Okay. Yes.
So this is kind of a summary of the skill visa option. Again, you should meet the skill assessment. You should have the positive skill assessment and age and maybe the English and those things you must meet first. And then you finally become a skilled person.
Yes.
Then based on point, you can go to 189. But I said 65, but this is a minimum requirement.
Yes.
So the reason why I put the 60 and then, oh, sorry, this is a 50, sorry, not 55, 50, because once your state nomination is approved, then state will give the 5 points. So you automatically meet the 65 minimum requirement.
Okay.
And then for the 491, your state nomination is approved, you automatically have the extra 15 points. So you will have extra, you will meet the minimum requirement with at least 60 points. Sorry, 50 points. So this is not a 55, this is a 50 point. Then you can have a 55, the extra 15 points, so you can reach the minimum 65.
65, yes.
Yeah. So once you get the invitation and those things that you must get a nomination approval first, then go to the visa application and 189, 190 is a permanent visa, but 190 you must reside in the certain state which you get the nomination approval. But 491 is temporary visa. You will have 5 years, but you have to meet the 3 years the regional requirement. Then you can move on to the permanent visa.
Yes.
Now.
Okay. And a lot of people might have doubt already. Where is regional area? So you please contact us and we can advise you. Yeah.
So Australian regional area is the designed by the Department of Home Affairs. So regional area doesn't necessarily very regional area. So this is the based on the migration policy. So the definition of the regional area is only applicable for the migration field. So regional area in other economic field may be different. So we keep saying about the regional area, but it's in terms of the migration purpose, the regional area is divided by the postcode, and then basically it's except all the Australia except Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne. So Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, Toowoomba, Newcastle, Uluru, they are all regional area
Yes.
based on the migration regional area
So
definition.
they can be big city as
Yeah,
well, but
Adelaide,
still
Perth.
include
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the regional area.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, let's move on to the employer sponsor visa options group.
Okay. Yes.
So again, there are 3 different visa subclass, which is 482 temporary skill shortage visa, and 186 employer nomination scheme visa, and 494 skilled employer sponsored visa.
Mm.
But I will just focus on the 482 today
Yes.
because this is the main visa you have to target.
Yes.
For the skilled visa, if you prepare one visa, then you can target to all the visas at the same time, actually. But for the employer sponsor visa, the requirement is quite different. So I will explain the 482. Then this is the reasonable visa option when you finish your graduation visa, I guess. So let's talk about the TSS visa. Its subclass is 482. There are 3 different streams under the TSS visa: short-term stream, medium-term stream, and labor agreement stream. But labor agreement stream is basically have a maybe different way to apply this stream, but most popular way is you using the DAMA, Designated Area Migration Agreement. You using the DAMA and apply the DAMA is not a visa. Many people misunderstand. DAMA is a kind of the agreement because the regional area having a difficulty to recruit workers in their area with the current migration policy.
Yes.
For example, if you are qualified chef, let's say, if you are qualified chef, are you going to find the employer in Sydney or in Darwin? If you are qualified chef, the migration policy in Sydney and Darwin is the same under the thesis.
Yes.
Then I'm not gonna go to Darwin. I'm stay in the Sydney, in big city. So that's why all the qualified professional and then workers, they are mainly stay in the big city. So that's why regional area always having a difficulties to find the worker.
Yes.
So that's why they directly negotiate with the department and they make their own agreement with the department.
Yes.
So the cook cannot apply for the permanent visa through the TSS visa in big city, but based on the DAMA, cook still can apply for the permanent visa through the TSS visa later.
Yes.
So this is DAMA.
Yes.
This is the agreement, and then using that agreement that you apply for the TSS visa, that is labor agreement stream. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So today I will mainly focus on these 2 streams first.
Okay, short term and medium term.
That's right. Let's start with the short-term stream. It's this stream is applicable for the occupation under the short-term occupation list.
Okay.
For example, cook, restaurant manager, marketing specialist. They are all under the short-term occupation list. So if you got a sponsorship through this nominate the occupation, then you are eligible to apply the short-term stream TSS visa.
Yes.
But this visa duration is only for 2 years, but you can extend another 2 years. So the maximum visa duration will be maximum 4 years.
4 years. Okay.
Maximum 4 years. So because of this short-term reason, the applicants must get the GT assessment. They have to prove that they are applying for this visa based on the work purpose, not a permanent visa purpose.
Okay.
Yeah. And then IELTS requirement is just overall 5.0.
Yes.
So for the PT, over 36. And then this TSS visa requires the relevant qualification and also must have 2 years work experience. I will talk a little bit more about 2 years work experience requirement later on.
Okay, good, because we have a lot of questions.
That's right. And then for the short-term stream, is again, it's not a pathway to the PR.
Okay.
So if you apply the TSS visa under the short-term stream, means your occupation is short-term occupation list, then you cannot apply for the PR through the TSS visa pathway.
Okay, so you are allowed to work short-term.
Yeah.
Okay.
But let's go to the medium-term stream. Then, of course, at the end, I said there is a PR option that under the medium stream, yes, you can move to the permanent visa. And this is the purpose of the medium stream.
Okay.
And then, but your occupation must be under the medium and long-term strategy occupation list. It's MLDSS. So, for example, chef, carpenter, painter, and motor mechanic, and then nurse, accountant, and engineer, and IT professional. So they are all under the medium and long-term occupation list. Then you can use medium-term stream for the 482 visa application.
Yes.
Then this visa is 4 years, and then you require to have the IELTS 5.0 each.
Each band.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you also require to have the relevant qualification if you don't have enough work experience to replace your qualification.
Okay.
Also, you also require the 2 years of working experience. We will discuss about this at the next stage.
Okay.
But again, if you your TSS visa is granted under the medium-term stream, you will have a 4 years visa. During this 4-year visa, you continue to work under your employer at the nominated occupation for 3 years. Then it's time to apply the permanent visa.
Okay, so this is a PR pathway.
Yeah, so you don't need to wait 4 years, but you can move to the permanent visa application once you complete the 4 year. But like a 491, as I mentioned before, the 491 that you have a very simple requirement. Regional living and regional working make at least 53,900 900 Australian dollar. But this one is different with the 491 visa. This one, your employer also must get a nomination approval again.
Okay.
Then you can move to the visa application. So you must get another sponsorship again from your employer.
Okay. Yes.
So if your employer is saying no, I don't want to sponsor you, then even though you complete the 3 year,
there's no chance.
It's not under your control. For the 491, it's definitely under your control.
Yes.
But the 482, yes,
it
you
depends on the employer.
yeah,
as well.
employer. Yes.
I have quick question now before we move on. In the skill work visa, we talk a lot about skill assessment, right? But in here, the TSS visa, we talk about qualification. So is that mean for this visa we don't need to pass?
I can't say you don't need the skill assessment, but most of the students who complete the course in Australia, they meet the skills requirement based on their Australian qualification. But it depends on the qualification and then like your nationality and things. So if you need a specific information, you should contact me. But again, if you have Australian qualification, basically you meet skill assessment requirement, but it depends on your qualification, where you're from, and your experience, and also your current location, something like that. You should consider many different things that you can advise whether you need one.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, so we talked about the general information about the TSS visa, and then maybe you understand there are three different visa streams, and you now understand how those streams are different. But if you are planning to apply the PR, you should think about your occupation. So let's say if you are working at the restaurant, that chef will give you more opportunity because chef is under the medium and long-term stream.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's see, but that is general information. But 482 visa, there are 3 different stages. So first, sponsorship and nomination. This is not from your side, actually. So by the immigration law, this sponsorship and nomination must be done by the employer.
Right. Okay.
But for the third stage visa application, this must be done by the visa applicant.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, I'll just make. visa applicant. So let's talk a little bit about the sponsorship. This sponsorship stage, the department will see whether your company is eligible to giving the sponsorship. They checking about your finance. They checking about your company's registration. They checking about any business criminal record, something like that. So I can say it's a kind of a simple stage, simple process we can prepare together. And then second stage, nomination is a critical stage, is very important. And then this stage, most of visa the refusal comes from.
Okay.
So nomination stage, they will see that whether your company and nominated occupation is related, and then the company has a financial capacity to provide the nomination. And then they also see that nominee, I mean, the student has a relevant skill and the qualification to meet the nomination criteria. To assess those kind of the requirements, so there are very important 3 things that you must remember. But anyway, your employer have to be done by this one, but a lot of employer doesn't know about it. So if you want to explain your employer what kind of thing that employer have to done to provide a sponsorship, you have to remember and explain these 3 things in nomination stage.
Okay.
The first thing is a salary requirement.
Okay.
To be granted for your nomination application, for the salary requirement, you must consider 2 different factors, and you must meet the 2 different requirements. The first requirement is your salary must meet Tss requirement, which is temporary skilled migration income threshold. So we call the Tss. So again, this is 53,900 Australian dollars at the moment, but it can be increased later, but at the moment this one. So it means your contracted salary must be over
This one.
Yeah, at least this the 53 and 900 Australian dollars.
Okay.
And it's not an or. And you must meet annual market salary rate. We call the AMSR. So what does it mean is you must not have any disadvantage compared to the Australian worker in your workplace. Make it simple. The Peng is a chef in my restaurant, and then Peng is Australian citizen. I'm also a chef, and then I'm applying for the Tss Visa, and my employer must allocate at least the same salary level of the Peng, because but it depends on the situation, because Peng is more experienced chef, then we cannot compare.
Okay.
So I'm saying the equivalent worker. Peng and I have the same experience, same qualification, then the employer must provide the equivalent salary level than Australian worker, which means the Peng. So let's say in my restaurant, Peng have the 60K salary. It's more than Tss requirement, right? So that's okay.
Yes.
And but if I have 55K, then nomination cannot be granted, because the Peng is equivalent worker in my restaurant, and Peng salary is 60K. Then my salary must be over or at least 60K.
Right. Okay. Okay.
But for example, Peng is equivalent worker, but Peng's salary is only 50K. Then my employer giving me the salary 50K because Peng is equivalent, and I have to meet the same salary level. Then nomination must be refused because we couldn't meet the Tss requirement, which is 53,900 Australian dollars.
Yes.
So this first and second requirement is we must meet all together.
Okay. Yes.
And then the other thing that the employer consider is SAF levy. So we call the SAF levy, the Skilling Australian Fund. This is simply kind of the tax levy that the employer have to pay to the government because they are hiring the overseas worker.
Yeah.
rather than Australian worker.
Okay.
But this is very important because a lot of employer doesn't want to pay a lot.
Yes. Yes.
But because of this one, that the employer have to pay certain fee.
Yes.
In addition to nomination application fee and sponsorship application fee. So let's say but this fee is decided based on the turnover of that business. If the business turnover is less than 10 million, then the business owner must pay 1,200 per year. But if the business turnover is more than 10 million, then the business owner must pay 1,800 per year. However, employer must pay entire duration of the visa of the SAP at the time of the nomination application. So which means my restaurant is the turnover and sales is less than 10 million, for example.
Okay.
Then I'm employing I'm giving the nomination for the chef. Then I have to pay 4,800 when I apply the nomination, because the chef is a medium and long term, visa duration will be 4 years.
Yes.
So I have to pay 4 years SAP.
Okay. Yes. So 4 times 1,200.
That's right.
Okay.
But my business is big. My restaurant sales is very high, so more than 10 million. Then I'm giving the sponsorship for the pen, who is a chef. Then 4 years of Tss Visa. Then I have to pay $7,200 at the time of the nomination application, which is a very big money.
Yes. Okay.
Because of this one, maybe employer a bit hesitate to giving the sponsorship, but you cannot avoid this one. And then the most important thing that you have to remind your employer and you have to remember is, again, this fee has to be paid at the time of the nomination.
Okay.
So nomination refused, the visa refused, and you decide to go back to your home country. But anyway, your employer cannot get a refund at all.
Oh, okay. Right.
Visa refusal is not a ground, not a reason for the refund of the SAF.
All right. So you have to talk to your employer about
clearly,
this detail before you make decision.
Yeah, this is big money, so you must explain about this to your employer.
Yes.
And then the last one that you still have to inform to your employer is Lmt requirement, which is a labor market test. But this is quite tricky. So if your country has the free trade agreement, the FTA agreement with Australia, then LMT can be exempt. I mean, you are free of the LMT. But most of Latin American the country, they don't have any like free trade agreement with Australia. So your employer must meet the LMT requirement. So which means they have to advertise of a job vacancy in your occupation for at least 28 days. So they have to provide, they have done the best effort to recruit the local employee for your occupation. But they couldn't done through the 28 days. So that's why they are giving you sponsorship.
Okay. Yes. Right.
Because very clear, Australian government want to protect domestic employment market. So that's why through the LMT process, they want to provide the opportunity for the domestic worker first. And then through the 28 days recruitment effort, you cannot make it, then finally you can now recruit the overseas worker through the LMT process. So it's very important. You have to explain about salary requirement, you have to explain about the SAP level requirement, and you have to explain about the labor market testing requirement to your employer. And then your employer happy about it and giving you still sponsorship, then it's time to process. And then once sponsorship, nomination, then you can apply for the visa. But it doesn't necessarily sponsorship have to be granted, but sponsorship nomination has to be granted to apply the visa. So let's say your visa is expired tomorrow, but your sponsorship applied, nomination applied, but not granted, but still you can apply for the visa. But if you haven't applied the sponsorship and nomination, then you cannot apply for the visa.
Okay.
But at least sponsorship and nomination has to be lodged, then your visa application can be lodged.
Okay. All right. I have a quick question about this. How long does it take for the sponsorship to be approved?
Sponsorship doesn't take long, then like at least 1 to 2 months.
Oh,
Or that
okay.
like before that in the normal process, sponsorship in 2 or 3 days.
Okay. So the student, after they talk to their employer, they can start to prepare.
That's right, yeah. And then it gives the 5 years sponsorship.
Mm.
So the sponsor doesn't necessarily apply the separate sponsorship in 5 years.
Okay.
But nomination, each employee, giving the sponsorship, they must apply each nomination application.
Again.
Yeah, again.
So that means they're gonna have to pay
That's right.
SAF fee for each employee.
That's right, yeah.
All
For the
right.
nomination, but it takes very long time. But government already provide the list of the occupation, which is called the PML as well, the priority occupation list. So if your occupation is under the primary priority occupation list under the COVID situation, nomination process within, I said, in 2 weeks.
All right.
Yeah,
okay.
we gotta have a many grant for the IT professional, IT occupation, which is under the priority occupation list. In the nomination and sponsor everything, even the visa application granted and completed done in 2 weeks. But like chef, mechanic, some like non-critical sector occupation, and which is not under the priority occupation list, then you should expect more than a year now.
More than a year to get the nomination grant.
That's right. It takes
okay.
very long time.
Okay. So from your advice, if the student, let's say, holding 4F5 visa and stay in Australia and want to process 4F2 TSS visa, when should they start to process the sponsorship?
Sponsorship is anytime if they wish, but nomination, that you think about the requirement also, that you also think about, you check about your work experience as well. Again, your work experience at least 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
So you should think about.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about the work experience. That TSS work experience, the work experience must be completed while working in the nominated occupation. So if you work as a cook, then you cannot count the cook work experience when you apply for the TSS visa for chef. So if you want to apply for the TSS visa as a chef, then your chef experience is only applicable. So if you have the experience as a cook or kitchenette, you cannot use that experience to apply the TSS visa. But like the TSS visa, when you are counting, it must be full-time base, so 38 hours. But if you work as a part-time during your study, then you can still count, but 0.5%, something like that. So you see the 1 year part-time experience, it's equivalent to the maybe 6 months full-time experience.
Okay.
But they require at least 2 years within 5 years. So you must have 2 years work experience to apply the TSS visa. Then these 2 years is full-time base. A lot of people ask that, why you are studying, can I count my work experience? Yes, you can count for the TSS visa work experience. But again, each visa has a different work experience requirement. So for the skilled visa sector, okay, we discussed about skilled visa 189, 190, 491. So when you're counting your migration point, there is a work experience point. So when you're counting the work experience for the skilled visa migration point base, then your experience must be counted after you complete qualification.
Okay.
So post qualification experience is only applicable for the skilled visa. But 20 hours experience is okay
Okay.
for the skilled visa.
Yes.
But TSS visa work experience requirement is full-time based, 38 hours based, but you can still count your work experience why that you worked while you are studying qualification. You study the course.
Okay.
Now, but again, you must be working in the nominated occupation. That's very important.
Okay.
So make it simple. If you work as a chef in your restaurant from the certificate for study, then you can count that experience for TSS visa purpose.
Okay.
But you cannot count that experience for the skilled visa purpose.
Okay. Okay. But I'm student, so I can work only 20 hours per week. So how does it?
So it's a half.
Okay.
So you work. So from, let's say, from the 34 and you until you complete the diploma of hospitality, you have worked 1 year for the chef occupation. Then you will you can claim 6 months full-time experience because you work 1 year for the part-time.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So this is very important. So a lot of people have asked about the work experience requirement for the TSS visa. Yes, it's totally different with the skilled visa requirement. Again, your experience must be 2 years within 5 years.
Okay.
And then it's a full-time base, 38 hours, but it doesn't necessarily always full-time. But we can calculate it as a pro rata base. But you can still count your work experience, which is done while you are studying.
Okay.
Okay. So summary: you must be in the 5 year and full-time base. Part-time can be accepted by calculation as a full-time. And then the research or vocational placements also can be used for the counting the work experience. Also, but you must work as a nominated occupation.
So you can't be a cook if you are part of
That's
chef.
right. But again, also the important thing, while you are studying, you see if you worked as a nominated occupation, then you can still count the work experience. It doesn't necessarily be a post-qualification experience.
Okay.
But again, more important thing is you must work at required level.
Yes.
So IT technician and IT professional is different. And the payroll officer and accountant is different.
Okay.
So you must understand about the required occupation.
Okay.
So this is current very common case. The applicants holding the 485 student visa and 485, and during the student visa and 485 graduate visa, they have a 2 years work experience. They move to the TSS visa. Under the TSS visa, they work 3 years. Then they move to the permanent visa, and this is ENS 186, subclass 186, ENS transitional stream. So to apply this ENS visa, you must have the age under 44 and you have IH 6.0.
Okay. Yes.
Each.
Okay. That brings up one more question. For example, as a chef, when you get 485 visa, it's only 1.5 years. How can we get 2 year working experience?
At the moment, how I can help my client is I'm just maximize the bridging period. So once they complete their course, they normally have the 2 more months for the visa expire.
Okay.
So once they complete the course, they are eligible to work full time. But very important. That's why very important thing in this point whether you can have the chef position or not. If you are still working as a cook, in this point, you cannot claim the work experience. Again, this is the important thing. Your work experience must count from you work as nominated occupation. So if at the time of the course completion, if you work as a chef, then you have another 2 months full time. And then the sole migration maximize your bridging visa for the graduation visa. So at the moment, we have at least 5 to 6 months bridging visa. So you have enough time to have the work experience because your visa 1.5 year will be count from the visa granted. So after your study, you still have 2 more months. And during the bridging visa, you have at least 5 to 6 months. And then during the graduation visa, you have 1.5 years. So, so most important thing at the time of the completion of a course, that you must be employed as chef.
Yes. All right.
Then this is the very common process they move through.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yep. And then another employer sponsor visa, I will touch it simply. So previous I said the ENS visa is a TRT stream. So TRT stream is that applicants apply the ENS through the TSS visa.
Yes.
So, but the ENS direct stream, it doesn't necessarily require you to hold TSS visa.
Okay.
But they still require full-time 3 years experience.
Okay.
So in theoretically, if you are in Australia, you don't have a visa to have the 3 years full-time after college because 186 is 3 years full-time post-qualification. Again, this is different with the TSS visa work experience. TSS doesn't require the post-qualification.
So while study can start work as a chef like that.
So the 186 direct entry stream requires the skill assessment as well.
Oh, okay.
This one doesn't TRT stream because they already show during the TSS visa, they already worked under that employer at nominated occupation for 3 years. The department assume they meet all the skill. So they don't really see the skill assessment. They don't require the skill assessment. But direct entry stream, department doesn't know whether their previous experience meet the skill level or not. So that's why they need skill assessment. And again, this is also required ISS 6. And the age less than 45 means until 44. This is a direct, but this is direct PR. So even though you don't go to the TSS visa, but if you still meet those requirements, then your employer happy to sponsor. So I have currently a case that students finish the graduation visa and using the working holiday visa. Graduation visa was 2 years, then working holiday visa make 3 years, then they apply for the ENS direct.
Okay. Yeah.
And 494 is a new visa, skilled employer sponsor visa. This is based on the quota and then currently government. But what is the difference between 186 and 494? 186 is the permanent visa, but 494 is a TR. So TSS visa is a TR, right?
Yes.
But how is it different from 494 TSS? TSS is only for the long-term visa for the PR, right? But 494, there are many different occupations can apply. MLTSS, short-term, and ROL as well, regional occupation list. But this one requires the 3 years experience as well.
It's quite hard.
Yeah, quite hard. So the 494, if you don't have a kind of overseas experience and the qualification, it might be hard. But currently, the government provide the second graduation visa, right? So once you complete your bachelor degree in IT, maybe let's say, then you have a 2 years post-study work visa, and then if you are eligible to apply the second the graduation visa, then you can extend the 3 to 4 years maximum. So that means you continue to work under the in Australia, then you can have 3 years, then apply for the 494.
Okay.
But in that case, it depends on the occupation. Then you can move to the 186, right? But 186 is a good option, but some occupations you still cannot get a 186 because the occupation is not under the medium and long-term list. So yeah, you can stay. Let's say that Bachelor of Hospitality you graduate. But for the 186, the hospitality related occupation is not under the MLTSS, but under the short-term list. So you work as a backpacker manager for 3 years, then you still apply for the 494.
Okay.
So this is the end of the visa comparison and visa explanation. So I hope everyone clearly understand. But
Yeah.
if you still has a confusion and doubt, it's time that you
Yeah.
can ask, then we can give you the answer.
We have a few questions more from our chat room.
Mhm.
I will ask about the TSS visa first because we just finished that. What is the minimum turnover per year for the employer to do nomination TSS
But
visa?
in the legislation, they don't have any specific requirement for the financial, especially for turnover thing. But they will more like to see whether the business has a capability to giving the sponsorship. So let's say if someone has a very many different employee in their business, then their turnover has to be very high. But it's a very small size the business, but still required to sponsor. Then maybe salary is a little bit less than other business, right? Then maybe with the small sales and turnover, they still capable to giving the salary, right? So that's why in that case it's okay. So it's very hard to give you the number, but you should think about your business structure and then size, and then maybe income things.
Okay. So back to another question. This one is about ENS 1X6 visa. I am an engineer and I have a skill assessment for 4X5 visa. Can I use the same for ENS 1X6 visa?
Engineers, maybe you have I think you complete the skill assessment from the EA, Engineers Australia. So if it is the case, yes, you can use for the ENS if it is not expired. If it is expired, you can simply renew and apply the ENS with your. But if it is if you your occupation is maybe engineering draft person and then it is assessed by the PARTICIPAR, then maybe the skill assessment outcome for the graduation visa and then PR purpose are different. So I think you should get another skill assessment for the PR purpose.
Okay.
But most of engineers professional is done by the EA. They should be the same.
Okay. So let's go to another question. Does the skill assessment have an expiration date?
Yeah. All the skill assessment has an expiry date, but it depends on the skill assessment authority. So you should check with your skill assessment authority.
Okay, all right. And if the state requirement for 491 required to have 6 months full-time work experience plus 1 year contract, but I only got 4 months full-time when the state is open to launch EOI plus 1 year contract from the company. In this case, would it be very risky to get a positive outcome?
Because you have to provide the statement of service. They clearly mentioned the start day and your working hours. So I believe your nomination will be refused. Better not to, because the Queensland maybe the state will waste the one quota because of you. So I don't recommend that, because then other possible candidates cannot have a chance to apply. So you maybe wait next round.
Yeah.
I'm definitely sure your nomination will be refused. It's very straightforward and strict.
Okay. Another question. I've got an Australian qualification as a chef and work experience from Australia, but now myself is in my home country. Do you think I still have a chance to apply for 189 visa if I got a full skill assessment?
Saying that the first thing that is how you can pass the full skill assessment. Let's say but you can do it with many different ways. But let's say if you pass the full skill assessment, then again that I show you the invitation form. For the chef is.
You meet the requirement, you can try, but it doesn't.
You can try anytime. You can try. It's not a big deal, but less than 1% you get the invitation. If you don't, if your point is less than 95.
Okay, so you have to work out a lot about the point.
So if you are offshore, you better to find a certain state which is giving the state nomination option for the offshore applicants. But recently, this option is closed, but they will open once COVID is finished. So you may having a chance through that area.
Okay. Another question is 190 can be only from MLT SSL list.
But we already discussed the
Yeah.
190 is based on the state nomination. So the occupation is based on the each state.
Yes. So
Each
have to
state
check.
has their own state occupation list. So
Yeah.
you should check with your target state.
Yes, yes. And what can happen if I leave the state after getting PR through state nomination?
Oh, I don't know actually. I can't advise, and as a migration agent, you shouldn't leave your work. If you already left, come back and stay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they have.
Because the nomination, when you apply the state nomination, you sign the nomination form, or you just giving your agent to click the accept. Then it clearly mentioned that you must reside in your state for at least 2 years after your visa granted.
So you declare that.
It's not about the visa, but it's more like the policy that you accepted.
Yes. Last one, Namo. My nominate occupation is environmental consultant, and my title at my job is sustainability environment administrator. Is it related?
Just from the like occupation name, I believe it's totally different. Environmental consultant and the administrator is a bit different, so you cannot.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Namo, for very good presentation.
Sorry about that.
Yes.
If you believe it's similar, then you must get the duty and responsibility from your employer in your current job, and you should compare your task to the Untitled requirement for the environmental consultant. So your current task is matching with the Untitled requirement, then we can say.
Yes. Okay.
The name of the title is not important, but more like a task is more important.
So if you want to know how to check the task, please talk to our education counselor, and we can help you with that as well. Okay, so that's all for the question, and thank you very much, Namo. Anyone who register for the seminar, we will send you the record of this meeting, so don't worry that you're gonna miss anything. You can watch it again, and we will post the video on our YouTube channel as well, so please subscribe to YouTube channel So Edu, and you can see the record of this video as well. And if you already talked to our education counselor and you have any extra question after this, please contact your education counselor and we can find the answer from Namo to you. If you don't have any education counselor to talk with yet, please still contact us through our website soedu.net and send us your inquiry, and we will respond to you as soon as possible. All right, so thank you very much, Namo, again for today. And next seminar, not next Thursday, the Thursday after next, is gonna be about 491 visa. So if anyone interested to listen to Namo explanation about 491 and some tips about that visa, please register and join our seminar next time. Okay, so today is the end of our seminar, and let's hope we see you again a Thursday after next. Okay,
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.